Before this video starts, if you enjoyed this video, there are many more like it already on the channel, with many more like it to come in the future, so subscribe. I'm trying to hit 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so I would really appreciate it. I upload almost daily on this channel, so if you're looking for some consistent basketball talk, this is the place for it. Also drop a like on this video. It only takes 1 second and it makes a massive difference. Today I am officially putting out my prediction for the 2020 NBA playoffs. Of course, these are going to be under weird circumstances, so I took those circumstances into consideration for this. I did not really factor in home court advantage because no team's really going to have a home court advantage. So I do want to say quickly, because I'm going to start with the Eastern Conference, I decided to swap the Nets and the Magic in the seedings just because I think the Magic, they're mostly going to be there in terms of their talent, and they're probably going to surpass the Nets, who really just have Karis LeVert, Jared Allen, and 40-year-old Jamal Crawford. So I think the Magic will be the 7th seed and the Nets the 8th seed. So first round, it's Bucks versus Nets. Easy one here. This is going to be the Bucks in 4. I really don't think I need to explain that further. Next is the Raptors versus Magic. I think just because the Magic are such a good defensive team and the Raptors have a lot of small guards that they rely on for their offense, and the Magic are such a big team as well, I think there's a good chance that the Magic actually take a game on the Raptors. They actually took a game on the Raptors last year, so I definitely think it's possible this year without them having Kawhi Leonard. So I'm going to say Raptors in 5, and I assume the Magic win just one of those games, obviously. Celtics versus Sixers. This is an interesting matchup to say the least, because the Sixers are probably the best team that are as low seeded as they are, and in terms of a matchup, this is not a good situation for the Boston Celtics because, as we know, the Celtics are not a particularly big team. They're running Jason Tatum at power forward, even though he's really a small forward. They have a 6'1" at best point guard in Kemba Walker, whereas the Sixers have a 7-foot point guard. The Sixers can also put out Al Horford at power forward, Tobias Harris, who's like 6'8", 6'9" at small forward, Josh Richardson at 6'5", is the smallest guy in the Sixers starting lineup, and he has pretty long arms as well. So the Sixers are a big team, the Celtics are a small team, so not a perfect matchup for the Celtics to say the least, and I definitely think the Sixers are versatile enough to handle the fact that they're going to be a little bit bigger than the Celtics in terms of a speed mismatch, because Ben Simmons is fast enough to keep up with everybody, Al Horford knows how to defend in space, and Joel Embiid, well, he's not really great at defending in space, but he's so big that he can back up into the paint and it still works out. So this is an interesting matchup to say the least, but I think I'm going to have to go Celtics in 7 just purely because the Celtics have more offensive guys. There's really no one outside of Joel Embiid and a little bit of Tobias Harris who can get you 20 points per game. For the Celtics, they have 4 guys who can give you 20 points per game at any time, and I think that's enough to put them over the top. I definitely think this is going to be a close series though, just because this is a tough matchup, so I'm going to have to go with Celtics in 7, but I could very well see the Sixers upsetting the Boston Celtics in the first round, because as much as I like to shit on the Sixers and as bad as their fit is, they're still a lethal defensive team and they have enough offensive guys to hold their own on that end, and it's definitely plausible for them to make it to the second round despite being a 6 seed. And then finally, the Heat versus the Pacers. This is a tough one for me. The Pacers are not going to have Victor Oladipo, but they didn't really have Victor Oladipo all of this year, so that's not really a big deal. The Pacers are definitely an interesting team. It's like Malcolm Brogdon, TJ Warren, Domantas Sabonis, and Miles Turner are really the 4 best players on that team. And then after that, it's a couple of okay role players. And then for the Miami Heat, it's Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, Kendrick Nunn, Tyler Hero, Goran Dragic, guys like Kelly Olynyk. So I definitely think the Heat have a bit more depth, and if I'm going to pick a team to be more of a playoff team, I'm going to go with the Miami Heat because of their playoffs experience, as well as just the fact that they're a defensive team, and I trust a defensive team over an offensive team in the playoffs because it's a lot harder to be consistent on offense than it is on defense. So I'm going to go with the Miami Heat in 5 to 6, maybe 7 games if the Pacers surprise me a bit, but I'm going to assume they don't, so I'm probably going to say 6 games for this series, possibly 5, not entirely sure. So moving on to the second round, it's going to be the Bucks versus Heat, and I'm going to go with Bucks in 6. The Heat are going to have some pretty good matchups for Giannis. Bam Adebayo is a fantastic matchup for Giannis, so I think he'll get slowed down in that series a good bit. And then for the Raptors versus Celtics, this is going to be another close matchup. The Celtics are not going to have it easy in this year's playoffs. I'm probably going to go Celtics in 7. Once again, I think it's just because they have too many guys who can really score the ball. For the Raptors, it's Pascal Siakam, and then it's really Kyle Lowry and Fred VanVleet, and neither of those guys are all that consistent with their scoring, so I'm going to have to go with the Boston Celtics in 7. Also, I think Jason Tatum would be a better matchup on Pascal Siakam than I think most people would give him credit for. So then in the Eastern Conference Finals, we obviously have the Bucks versus the Boston Celtics, and here comes the point where the Celtics having 4 bodies does not matter enough to me, because I'm going to go with Bucks in 6, just because I think the Bucks are a better all-around team, and they easily have the best player of the series by quite a large margin in Giannis, obviously. So then moving out to the Western Conference, in the first round, you got Lakers versus Grizzlies. I'm going to go Lakers in 5. I'm sure a lot of people would view that as a sweep. I wouldn't even be surprised if it was a 6-game series, honestly, because I think the Grizzlies match up very well against the Lakers. The one concern would be if Jaren Jackson Jr. has foul trouble, because I think he's a perfect matchup against Anthony Davis on both ends of the court, because he's good at matching up and stopping a guy like Anthony Davis, because he's both quick, but also long enough to contest his shots in the post and things like that. And then on offense, he's a very good shooter for a power forward, so Anthony Davis's rim protection will really not be a factor when he's in the game, because he's going to have to stick to Jaren on the perimeter. So as long as he doesn't have foul trouble issues, which he tends to have, I think the Grizzlies will be able to get 1 game, maybe even 2 on the Lakers, just because I think they're a good matchup. Also, I don't know who the hell is going to be guarding Ja Morant in that series. Then next we have the Clippers versus Mavs. This is definitely not an ideal situation for the Clippers, because the Mavs are a very good offensive team, but I'm going to go with the Clippers just because they have 2 top 15 players and the Mavs only have 1. And I'd say the Clippers also have the best player in the series in Kawhi Leonard. Luka is good, but he's not quite Kawhi level yet. So I'm going to go with the Clippers, but I'd say that's probably a 6-game series just because the Mavs are such a good offensive team. And I think Luka is going to be really good in the playoffs. I don't think he's going to struggle like some people have suggested. Then next we have the Nuggets versus the Rockets. I'm going to go with the Rockets in 7 games. Now, I know that might surprise people, but the way that the Rockets were playing to close out the year, especially with Russell Westbrook killing it and their small ball lineup really proving itself to actually be pretty good and proving a lot of people like myself wrong, at least in the regular season, I definitely think they can beat this Nuggets team, just because I'm not really a big believer in the Nuggets as much as I like this team and I like a lot of this team's players. And really, I would say this would be like a 6-game series, if not for the matchup of PJ Tucker versus Jokic. I definitely think Jokic is going to take a good amount of advantage of that. It is helpful that PJ is pretty strong and pretty big, so Jokic is going to have to be shooting over him. He's not going to be able to play straight up bully ball, but in the end, I think it's going to be the Rockets who win this series. It should be close though. And then in another close series, we have the Utah Jazz versus the OKC Thunder, and I am of the opinion, like a lot of people, that OKC is actually going to do pretty alright in the playoffs and at least make the second round, and in this case, I'm having OKC win in 6 to 7 games. I just believe that OKC is a more solid all-around roster. The Jazz have been in the playoffs thus far with Donovan Mitchell, so I believe I'm going to go with OKC. And then in the second round, the Lakers versus OKC, well, that was nice, Oklahoma, because Lakers in 5. Maybe even Lakers in 4, just because I don't see anyone on this team defending. I mean, I guess Steven Adams wouldn't be bad defending Anthony Davis, but I don't think he'd be great, especially with his perimeter stuff. So I'm going to go with the Lakers in 5. And then Clippers versus Rockets. This is, again, not an ideal matchup for the Clippers because you'd like to have some easy series, but I'm going to go with the Clippers in 6 games. I think this is a good matchup for the Rockets, being that they don't really have an interior presence on the Clippers that's going to make a big splash against PJ Tucker. But I don't know who on that team is defending Kawhi and Paul George, and on the flip side, Kawhi Leonard's going to be guarding James Harden, and Paul George might be guarding Russell Westbrook, which would certainly be interesting in the narrative sense. So I don't think this is a great matchup for the Rockets. But I also is such a good team, and I believe in their small ball enough to say that I think they're going to win at least 2 games in this series. Then the conference finals matchup that everyone is looking forward to, me included, the Lakers versus the Clippers, the Battle of LA that is happening in Orlando. I am going to have to stick to what I said at the beginning of the year, which is that I believe the Clippers are going to win this series. Either way, though, it is going to be a 7-game series unless someone really just drops the ball. The Clippers, I believe, just have enough depth to overtake the fact that the Lakers have the better duo of the 2 teams. They have more shooting, they have more offensive options. They have Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell. After LeBron and Anthony Davis, who is the offensive option on the Lakers? Kyle Kuzma? Yeah, that's a joke. In the case of the Clippers as well, I think Kawhi Leonard is a better player than LeBron, and I know that's a controversial take, but I think Kawhi is the best player in the league. So I'm going to give this one to the Clippers in 7 games. And then finally, the finals matchup. Didn't mean to say finally for finals, but whatever. It's the Clippers versus Bucks in the finals. And once more, I'm going to stick to my guns on it being the Clippers in 7. Now, I definitely didn't consider this series much when I really thought of it before, just how much of a mismatch the Bucks could be against the Clippers due to their lack of interior presence. I'm hoping that Zubac can step up in that department and hopefully give some interior defense. But the Clippers just simply have 2 top 15 players and the #1 player in the league. The Bucks have the #2 player in the league, in my opinion. But after that, there's a pretty big drop-off to Chris Middleton, who's like the 20th best player in the league. So I'm going to have to go with the Clippers just simply off the merit of them having the better duo and the fact that I think they have a bit more depth than the Bucks, so the Bucks definitely have a decent amount of depth as well. So that is my playoff prediction. I see the Clippers winning the finals in 7 games versus the Milwaukee Bucks. And the Clippers are definitely not going to have an easy stretch because they have the Mavericks, then the Rockets, then the Lakers, then the Bucks. Those are 4 very good teams that you have to go through in each round. So interesting situation there. I still expect the Clippers to win even with that though. So those are my playoff predictions. That is the end of this video. Please be sure to like, subscribe for more NBA content like this, and cue the outro music.